From Red Zone Weather in Bruton, Alabama, with meteorologist Spinks Megginson. A tropical weather update starts right now.
Expecting a hurricane in the eastern Gulf of Mexico as potential tropical cyclone number 9 takes shape in the Caribbean Sea. This storm is going to move to the northwest and turn to the north, making a beeline for parts of Florida as we get into the latter part of the week. We've got all the information for you on this Monday evening. I'm meteorologist Spinks Megginson. Thanks for being with us this evening. Right now, potential tropical cyclone number 9 is a cluster of thunderstorms that does not have a low-level center of circulation just yet, but it probably will as the system continues to work its way to the northwest before turning to the north into the Gulf of Mexico. It does look like that local impacts in southwest Alabama and northwest Florida won't be as significant as previously thought, as it does look like the core of this will be off to our east. So let's go in there and talk about why. The first thing I want to do is show you the storm as it stands right now. And it does look like we have a big cluster of convection to the east of where this mid-level center of circulation is. The hurricane hunters flew into this earlier today, and they were not able to locate a low-level center of circulation. In other words, an area of circulation lower in the atmosphere that would officially make this a tropical storm. And so this system is going to move to the northwest through the Caribbean and come here to areas near the western tip of Cuba and perhaps the eastern part of the Yucatan Peninsula. Hurricane watches are in effect for those zones in Cuba and Mexico, and this is going to be a large system. You can see the tropical storm force winds, this yellow zone, extends well away from the center of the storm. And here's the state of Florida. You can see just how large this storm is going to be in relation to the state of Florida, likely making landfall later this week, specifically on Thursday. And so that's what I want to talk about next. The landfall point of this storm is currently projected to happen between Destin and Tampa Bay. Now that's a big swath of coastline that will gradually get smaller as we get more confidence in the forecast. But again, Destin to Tampa Bay is the swath of coastline where the center of the storm will come in. And keep in mind, this will be shifted to the west if the center is farther west. Same thing if the storm comes in farther east. This would all be shifted to the east. And so let's get in there and look at some of the zones that could have the greatest impact from this storm. Right now, we've got much of Gulf County, areas near Port St. Joe, the Cape, also areas near Indian Pass, and Apalachicola in Franklin County on the western side of the projected landfall point. Now keep in mind, the circulation may come up right on those zones if the forecast shifts a bit to the west. Carabel, also areas near St. Mark's. Tallahassee, big city of Tallahassee, the capital of Florida, also in the zone where we could see potentially significant impacts. Perry, Mayo, Cross City, Horseshoe Beach, Cedar Key, back down to areas near Tampa Bay on the eastern side of this cone of uncertainty. And like we've talked about numerous times, the cone of uncertainty tells us where the center point of the storm may move. So again, Tampa Bay, you're not out of the woods just yet. I do think there will be wind and surge in parts of central Florida, specifically near Tampa Bay. And we can't forget about folks farther inland from Tallahassee points north into southern Georgia. Bainbridge, Thomasville, Georgia, not Thomasville, Alabama, but Thomasville, Georgia, up the I-75 corridor all the way up to Atlanta could have tropical storm force winds. Now, the good news, and this is good news, for those of you watching in our primary coverage zone in South Alabama and Northwest Florida, it looks like the greater impacts will happen to our east. Again, there's a chance that the forecast shifts a bit to the west, but it's an off chance as of now. And so if it does shift west, that would mean we would have greater impacts in our part of the world. But for now, it looks like this is going to be an issue for Florida and Georgia mostly. And so again, tracking potential tropical cyclone number 9. By the way, you've heard folks probably refer to this as Helene. If it takes a name, it will either be Helene or Isaac. We don't know which one yet, and I'll show you why in just a moment. We have another system way out in the Atlantic that may be named first. Now, I want to show you a simulation, and this is one model run. And longtime viewers and readers know that we don't get so caught up on one specific model that we forget about the overall picture here. So this is one solution of what could happen as we get into the latter part of the week. Here's your timestamp right up here. By the time we get to Thursday afternoon, big impacts possible along and east of the center of circulation. Could have big impacts as far east as Panama City under the current forecast. This has it going in on Thursday evening into the Big Bend region of Florida. Hurricane force winds possible as far east as Gainesville, and again, as far west, I should say, as Panama City. And so again, this is one simulation of how it may happen. This happens to line up nearly perfectly with the current National Hurricane Center forecast. And again, this would be coming into the Big Bend region, very storm surge prone zone of Florida, where we could see potentially significant or even catastrophic storm surge if the storm ramps up to, say, major hurricane status. And so storm surge going to be a significant concern. This is a look at the potential impacts, and this is an in-house graphic that we produce. Again, here's your cone of uncertainty, landfall point from Destin down to Tampa Bay, Port St. Joe, Panama City, Tallahassee, Cross City, back down to areas near Tampa Bay. That's the zone where the center of the storm is likely to come in. Greatest impacts going to happen near and to the east of the center of circulation. And so much of Florida, also Georgia, potentially as far west as southeast Alabama, involved in that greater impact zone. And you see we're kind of in this lighter shade of yellow. We're going to have some rain off this hurricane. There's no doubt about it, especially on the eastern side of our local area. Greenville, Andalusia, Destin, Crestview, probably going to get a good bit of rain off this. And by the way, you may be wondering about the tornado risk. There is no tornado risk for any part of Alabama or the Florida Panhandle to the west of the Apalachicola River in the current forecast. So again, if this shifts east, you're going to have to shift the tornado risk back to the west, I should say. So again, if this shifts to the west or the east, you're going to have to shift it either way. But tornadoes possible later this week, Wednesday, Thursday into Friday in parts of Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina. And so tornadoes will be a concern near and east of the center of circulation. The east is the beast, the west is the best. And so we'll be on that better west side here in South Alabama and Northwest Florida. And so we are not expecting tornadoes in our local area. What we are expecting is a good bit of rain, 4, 5, maybe even 6 inches of rain for parts of Florida and even parts of Georgia as well, isolated higher amounts. For our local area, 2 to 3 inches of rain, lower rain amounts farther to the west, Mobile, Chatham, Butler, but if you're farther to the east in Andalusia, Crestview, or Destin, going to pick up probably 3 inches of rain. Here's the official cone of uncertainty. Hurricanes.gov is the best website on the planet to track these storms. That's the National Hurricane Center. And the folks at NHC, the National Hurricane Center, have a combined huge number of years of experience tracking these storms, and we're really seeing a big improvement over the last several years in terms of the accuracy and precision of these fine forecasts issued by the National Hurricane Center. And so, like we talked about in yesterday's video, models are fickle. They change at the drop of a hat. These forecasts are designed to be more consistent and reliable than these models that are, quite frankly, all over the place. And so PTC9 down in the Caribbean Sea now going to move to the northwest, take a turn to the north before looping back to the northwest long after it makes landfall. By the way, to the west of PTC9, this has flared up today, and this is a rapidly intensifying hurricane over on the other side of Mexico, south of Mexico. This is Hurricane John, now a Category 2 hurricane, max winds of 105, but it's forecast to become a major hurricane as it moves into Mexico. And so this is Hurricane John. It's not going to cross into the Bay of Campeche, as this high terrain in through here in Mexico will likely rip it apart. So that is not currently in the forecast. John going to be a major problem for parts of Mexico here in the hours and really over the next few days. Mudslides possible in this part of Mexico, but again, it's not forecast to jump into the Bay of Campeche or the southern Gulf. So this is Hurricane John over in the eastern Pacific. We're also tracking a tropical wave coming off Africa near the Cabo Verde Islands that has a 70% chance of becoming a named tropical storm storm. This one could become Helene first, or it may be Isaac. That's the next name after Helene. And so we'll see which one gets named first. But for us, again, the big headline, big issues to our east, rain and thunderstorms likely locally. We do not have a formal tornado risk on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but we are going to get a good bit of rain, beneficial rain, off of this hurricane starting on Wednesday, extending into Thursday, maybe even Friday as well. And so potential tropical cyclone number 9, that's a mouthful, and don't even get me started about the nomenclature issue. We've had Invest 97L, now it's PTC9. I wish that the National Hurricane Center could kind of form a very simple definition of a pre-tropical storm, if you will, because that's kind of where we are. But once it acquires a low-level center of circulation, it will become a named tropical storm, and this is going to move to the north. Again, big issues possible in parts of the Florida Panhandle, especially the Big Bend, and even the Florida Peninsula could have tornadoes, heavy rain, and flash flooding, along with high wind issues later this week. And so that's the headline on this Monday evening. We're tracking potential tropical cyclone number 9. I'll have plenty of updates posted in the hours ahead in the Red Zone weather app. And of course, join me at 7:15 a.m. as always to bring you the very latest on this hurricane. We post a video every single morning. And again, this is not a hurricane yet, but it's well on its way, probably going to rapidly intensify into a hurricane by the time we get to Wednesday. So this thing's going to strengthen very quickly, likely moving through the eastern Gulf in the days ahead. On behalf of all of us at Red Zone Group LLC, I'm Spinks Megginson saying goodbye for now. Hope you have a nice Monday evening. Please stay safe. And again, next update tomorrow morning at 7:15 a.m.
Be sure to find us across social media, and don't forget to download the free Red Zone weather app and set up your customized alerts. Please support our Red Zone weather sponsors who make our coverage possible every single day.